Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hope and thank you for joining me today. We're going to go through some of the books that I've acquired over the past 3-ish plus months. I have a bunch of different categories and I'm actually probably going to split this video up into parts because I have that many books to show you. Today I'm probably going to go through my just general fiction section and then also my nonfiction section. First of all, let's start with nonfiction. I love having resources around my house rather than just going on Pinterest and looking something up for inspiration. I can go and reference a book and have something pretty to look at as well. And so I picked up House Rules by Michael and Smith, and it says it's simple, personal, livable decorating for your space. And I have actually read The Cozy Minimalist by her before and really enjoyed it, and so I wanted to get this one to probably set like on my coffee table or out somewhere. She always has really good and insightful tips, things that I've never thought of before, and it's also just visually pretty. My mom gave this book to me and it's called Bookworm and it's by Lucy Mangan, and it's a memoir of childhood reading. When Lucy Mangan was little, stories were everything. They opened up different worlds and cast new light on this one. She was whisked away to Narnia and Kieran Island and Wonderland. She ventured down rabbit holes and womble burrows into midnight gardens and chocolate factories. Now, in Bookworm, Lucy brings these worlds and the favorite characters of our collective childhoods back to life, uncovering a few forgotten treasures along the way and poignantly, wittily using them to tell her own story, that of a born and unrepentant bookworm. So, that sounds super good. Then, I picked this up. This was a used copy and it was in super good condition and it was a really good price. It was like half off. And this is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I've seen this book everywhere. It is everywhere. And so this is about older folks solving murders. This next one is called What If We Met in a Bookstore? And this is the first book by Callie McLay. And it says, when Brer Verlies finds out her favorite bookstore in Homer, Alaska is on the verge of closing, she jumps at the opportunity to save it. But her high school crush and former classmates are back in town, making her plans a lot more difficult. When an array of riddles comes into her possession, they trigger a memory from a time she disappeared without a trace. This sounds so good. While digging into her clues, give me 1 second. While digging into the clues, Ryder discovers the reason for her disappearance might stray into the realm of fiction and magic. I mean, it just sounds amazing, and also it looks so pretty. Also, this book is very heavy. It feels like nice. Next, I picked this up at the library. I may end up selling this one. It has all these stamps on the top of it. I just picked it up because it was 25 cents. But it's called Other Lives by Sarah Woodhouse. So it's a contemporary, and we'll see if it's any good. But honestly, I picked this up because the cover was pretty. This is also another library find. It was 25 cents. And it's called Snowbound by Richard S. Wheeler. The reason I bought this book is because the author of Lonesome Dove blurbed it on the front, and it says a haunting novel about hubris and its consequences. I was like, okay, got it. Love it. Want it. Then this was super random. I don't even remember why I picked this up, honestly. But it's called The Clumsiest People in Europe, or Mrs. Mortimer's Bad-Tempered Guide to the Victorian World. So this was also very cheap. It was 25 cents. And the cover was pretty. And sometimes if a book is that cheap, I'm just like, you know what, I'll get it. And if I hate it, not much is lost. I picked up, this is also a library book, Dead Wake by Eric Larson. I thought this was in really good condition as well. And so this is just about the crossing of the Lusitania. Then I picked up Once Upon a Wardrobe by Patty Callahan. And this is fictional. And it says, Megs Devonshire is brilliant with numbers and equations on a scholarship at Oxford and dreams of solving the greatest mysteries of physics. She prefers the dependability of facts, except for one. The younger brother she loves with all her heart doesn't have long to live. When George becomes captivated by a brand new book called The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and begs her to find out where Narnia came from, there's no way she can refuse. Despite her timidity about approaching the famous author, Meg soon finds herself taking tea with the Oxford Don and his own brother, imploring them for answers. What she receives instead are more stories of Jack Lewis's life, which she takes home to George. Why won't Mr. Lewis just tell her plainly what George wants to know? The answer will reveal to Meg's many truths that science and math cannot, and the gift she thought she was giving to her brother, the story behind Narnia, turns out to be his gift to her instead. Hope. Next, The Sanctuary by Ted Dekker. This was a library book as well. I've been enjoying some Ted Dekker books. I did DNF, The 49th Mystic. I'll probably talk about the books that I DNF'd. I will finish that book. I'm a good ways in. It's imaginative, it's immersive, and I like his writing a lot. But I just have I had a few like small issues with some of the theological approaches to some of the things that were happening in the story, and just wish that it would have been handled differently. And so, but this is the gripping story of vigilante priest Danny Hansen, who is now serving a 50-year prison term in California for the murder of 2 abusive men. Filled with remorse, Danny is determined to live out his days by a code of nonviolence and maneuvers deftly within a deadly prison system. But when Renee Gilmore, the woman he loves, receives a boxing containing a bloody finger and draconian demands from a mysterious enemy on the outside, Danny must find a way to protect Renee, while at the same time Renee enacts a plan to free Danny from incarceration. I guess that would count as like Christian fiction. Next, I picked up Toxic Empathy by Allie Beth Stuckey, and it says how progressives exploit Christian compassion. I also read Allie Beth Stuckey's first book, You're Not Enough, and That's Okay, and found that to be just very helpful, very pertinent to what I wanted to dive into and learn more about. She asks the question, should empathy drive Christians' politics? And so I did already share this book in another video, a reading vlog that I'm doing, and it is the thriller Worst Case Scenario by TJ Newman, and this is also an autographed copy, so that's really cool. But this one is about a plane that falls from the sky, and the pilot suffers a heart attack. And the very first, I've read just a few pages of it, and it's this plane like crashes, and these people in this church witness the crash or hear the crash, and it's just going to tell that story, I believe. That's all that I know about it, so I'm excited about that one. The Senor, Shogun of the Warring States. Check the time here. And I would like to read Shogun, but I'm interested in sort of the Japanese feudal period and era, and this is going to be one of the first books that I read of that. Again, interested and love Japanese culture, literature. This was at a vintage bookstore that we went to recently, and it was signed too as well. So it says, Oda Nobunaga, who is obsessed with the task of imposing unity on a seething mass of rival forces. He's ruthless, inquisitive, artistic, irreligious, and he typifies the essential solitude of the man who seeks supreme power. Yet his relationship with the foreigners seems paradoxically to satisfy not only his thirst for knowledge of guns, of other lands, of the universe, but also a need for the human contact that his role makes possible with his fellow countrymen. Thus, in its ending, this work, so thought-provoking in its picture of the meeting of cultures, also seems to invite the reader to find beauty in the cruelty and impermanence of existence itself. So, sounds interesting. Also a beautiful book, and it's a first edition. Next, I picked up Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. Love that name, Eowyn, Lord of the Rings fans. This takes place in 1920, and this is about two characters called Jack and Mabel. They're childless, they're drifting apart. He's struggling to maintain the farm. She's crumbling from loneliness and despair. In a moment of levity during the season's first snowfall, they build a child out of the snow. The next morning, the snow child is gone, but they glimpse a young girl running through the trees. Ooh, I got like chills reading that. I've never heard of this before, but this is called A Novel Bookstore by Laurence Cosset. This is French, Cosset. Don't get mad at me for mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. It had a lot of good praise about the book, and I flipped through it and it seemed clean. They were like, I flipped through it for quite a long time. And this is also a book from Powell's Books because it says Powell's on the back. I hope that's from Powell's Books because that would be really cool in Portland, Oregon. And I really would want to go there because it's the largest bookstore in the world, I think. So that's one of my dreams, is to go to Powell's Books one day. But this is a book that elegantly mixes the mystery and literary fiction genres. Lawrence Kosei has written an enthralling fable for lovers of good books and a heartfelt tribute to fine book selling. So this is a love story that centers around a bookstore and also a mystery. I have never heard of this book before either, and I just stumbled upon it. I also love the height of this book, and it's called A Honeybee Heart, has 5 openings. A Year of Keeping Bees by Helen Jukes. And so it's in first person, and it's an inspiring up-close portrait of tending to a honeybee hive, a year of living dangerously, watching and capturing the wondrous, complex universe of honeybees, and learning an altogether different way of being in the world. So that just seemed like a sweet little short read. This I picked up at Barnes & Noble a while back, and it is called The Price of Redemption by Sean Carpenter. And I just want to read you the back. It says, despite her powerful magic, Marquise Enid de Tanserville must free her homeland to escape death at the hands of theocratic revolution. When a theocratic warship overtakes the ship bearing her to safety, Enid is spared capture by the timely intervention of the Albion figure Alarum under the command of Commander Runath. These circumstances make for an odd alliance, and Enid finds herself replacing the Alarum's recently slain sea mage. Now an officer under Nath's command, Enid is thrust into a strange maritime world full of confusing customs, duties, and language. Worse, as she soon discovers, the threat of revolution is not confined to shore. So that's all for now. I will be doing probably a part 2 and a part 3 to finish out the rest of this haul. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you've heard of any of these books, if you want to read any of these books, a book that I should push up on my TBR and prioritize before the end of the year. I would love to know. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.